Have you done your English practice today? The answer is probably no. So let's change that. 5 minutes of British English listening practice. Today's topic is university. So I have spoken about university and my experience at university on a couple of podcasts and in different episodes before, and I think I will make a longer YouTube video about this. I have a podcast with another teacher called Joe, and you will find this on Spotify and YouTube. It is called Finn and Joe's British Show. But anyway, I'm going to do a very quick summary of university from my perspective. So, I went to university in Cardiff. I went to Cardiff University. Many cities have multiple universities, and another very common name for universities is with metropolitan. So, for example, in Cardiff, there is Cardiff University, but there is also Cardiff Metropolitan University. Manchester, you have Manchester University and Manchester Metropolitan University, and so on and so forth. And that is quite common. And often we will shorten Metropolitan to Met. So Cardiff Met, Manchester Met, things like that. But I went to Cardiff University and I studied modern languages and translation. So Spanish and Portuguese and translation. The translation is important because there was the option to just study modern languages. So you would study a lot of culture modules as well as the language modules, whereas I studied language modules and translation modules. So it was slightly different. So my first year of university was in 2020. Yes, 2020, the year of COVID. So my first year was very, very different to a normal first year of university. So I was in halls, so your halls of residence. They are university accommodations owned by the universities themselves, and that is where most people live in their first year. But we were trapped. We were trapped there. We were stuck there because of COVID. But it had its own joys and pleasures as well. And we got to know everybody really, really well and make some good friends. And then my second year was a very normal year. And then my third year was a year abroad. So everybody studying languages had a year abroad. So I spent half of the year in Mexico, in Oaxaca, and the other half of the year in Brazil, in Belo Horizonte. Now, I won't go into too much detail about my year abroad. I might do that in another episode or another video, and I've spoken about it a lot before on the podcast, but that was pretty cool, to say the least. And then when I came back in my fourth year, or came back for my fourth year in 2023 until 2024, I was just back in Cardiff. And that was very cool. There were still some of my mates here. I met my girlfriend, and yeah, I had fun. I didn't do very much work. My course wasn't very demanding, I guess, and especially because I had just been abroad and spent a lot of time speaking and learning the two languages. I felt like I didn't need to try as hard, and because I wasn't aiming for a particular grade in my overall grade, I wasn't that worried about it. So I focused more on enjoying myself and spending time with my friends, because I had some friends that had very demanding courses, and they spent a lot of time studying and a lot of time writing assignments and a lot of time in lectures, whereas mine was a little bit more relaxed, which I was very happy about. And the grading system for university is a little bit weird. I don't know if this is just in the UK or everywhere, but you can get a first class degree. That is the top. Then you can get a 2-1, a 2-2, a 3-1, a 3-2, and a 3-3, I think. But most people get a 2-2 or above, and I got a 2-1, which is fine. Like I said, it doesn't really matter for me, so I had fun, and that is the main thing. And I hope you guys had fun listening to this episode or watching. Remember, this show is on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify, so you can watch and listen until your heart is content. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.